I want to welcome everybody to the How to Start a Home T-Shirt Business webinar here at Transfer Express. My name is Dave. I am the content director here. And essentially my job is to use the resources that we have here at Stalls and Transfer Express to help you out. We are dedicated to your business or your side hustle succeeding. And we know that success looks different for somebody who's a commercial operator or somebody just getting started. So whatever we could do to help you reach your goals, we are 100% here and ready to help. Of course, we have a YouTube channel with hours and hours of videos, and we do these webinars at least 2 times a month. Sometimes they are like a guided press along webinar where we offer kits beforehand so you could press along with the samples while we are actually presenting, or like this where it is a lot of information. We're going to have some sweet PDFs to give away, and essentially they're there to help you out, especially when you're just getting started. The plan and getting started is the most important step. Really just getting started is the most important step, but working a plan really helps you stay on top of goals, and then you get to check things off the checklist, and you feel great about it. You start to see those sales start really rolling in. So it's really exciting that you guys are here. 2024 is going to be the best year ever. And if you're just getting started in your business, there's no better time to get it kicked off. Like I mentioned, my name is Dave with over a decade in the printing industry, working through 3 different commercial print shops. So I leverage a lot of that experience to be able to help you out. Helping me today in the chat section, because we do have our chat available. While I will be presenting, I'll glance over to the chat every now and then. So I will try to answer as much as I can. But if there's something that flies by and I don't get to see it, Mike is there in the chat. He'll show up as Stalls Transfer Express to be able to answer any questions there, as well as if I'm talking about a specific site or a PDF, like one of the ones that we'll talk about that we'll reference that could help your business out. Mike will drop a link to that in the chat. If you are watching this on a replay, you will be able to download them in the, we'll put the links in the description right below the video. So regardless of if you're live with us here right now, being live is cool because you get to ask questions and interact. But even if you can't catch this live or have to jump off at any time, this will be recorded, and we will be able to send it out to you with all of the links and stuff that we will talk about here today as well. So let's jump in and get started right away into all of our fun steps and strategies that's going to help your business get started and thrive. Now, first thing, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about creating a business plan. Working to a plan is going to be one of the most detrimental first steps to take when you are getting your business off the ground. It gives you kind of a roadmap to follow, a playbook, if you will, that's going to help keep any of your efforts focused on your goals. So that's really important. Of course, free business resources that you could use and some business resources that we're going to give you here today as well. We're going to talk about all different types of apparel and equipment choices. That kind of goes into some of the expenses and some pricing as well. You know, we'll talk about creating art. So some ways and techniques that you could do it. You might be here because you are a graphic designer. I came from a graphic designer background and how I originally got into the printing industry. Essentially, I was designing some cool stuff and it was great. I was playing in a band and just wanted to make some merch. We didn't need, you know, when we went to a printer, they were like, oh, you need to buy 48 of them and they're going to be $9 a piece or whatever. And we're like, man, we just got out of college. We're broke college kids, essentially. Like I can't afford to pony up all this money, not knowing if these styles are going to sell. Like that just seems like a waste of money. So I learned how to screen print myself, and took me about 3 weeks to learn how to make something that I felt comfortable selling. So yeah, not necessarily the easiest time learning. And I even had like a background, but again, back then there weren't online resources like there are right now. But if I could turn back the clock and relive it all over again, I would have bought a heat press because I would have been able to get immediate retail ready results. And that plastisol ink print that I wanted, that screen printed look and feel, you know, coming from a design background, everybody's like, oh, it needs to be screen printed. And knowing that I could have done that with a heat press, the same exact final product, man, it would have saved me so much time and money and frustration, and I probably would have less gray hairs than I currently do if I would have done that. So we'll talk about creating art and some easy ways that you could do that, whether you are a graphic design pro or whether you can't even draw a stick figure. I'll show you a tool that allows you to really capitalize that either on art for your own brand or custom artwork for your customers. Say you want to work with a school or a construction company and they're like, we don't even have a logo. I was just talking to a towing company here locally, and they're like, yeah, we've been in business for 35 years. We don't even have a logo. Do you want one? I could help you out with that, right? So all of that stuff just helps build brands and kind of positions you if you're going to be a custom apparel decorator or running your own brand, which I guess this is a great spot to ask you, everybody who's here on the webinar, let me know if you're planning on, if you want to start a custom apparel brand, or maybe you're already doing it and looking for those tips to get you farther. So just say custom apparel, or if you're running your own brand, just say brand, because then I could kind of tailor the responses and kind of the way that we'll be looking at a lot of the information today, either towards a brand if it's the majority, or custom apparel, or it's just going to be a mix if we all jump into the chat and say we'll be running our own. Now, I have worked for essentially both, whether it be a brand, a home-based brand, or custom. Wow, everybody is chatting so quickly. I just see the chat go flying by. Let me scroll here for just a little bit. Custom apparel, both is a good one. Brand, custom, brand. Seems like a pretty good mix. Maybe custom outweighing the brand a little bit. A lot of boths in there. That's awesome. Thanks for responding, guys. Promotional product supplier, Rhett, throwing the curveball. Love it. And using a heat press and the same exact strategies that we're going to look at here today is going to be very similar to the kind of custom range of it, but that's awesome. Promotional products I've seen are on such a skyward rise. And the best thing about a heat press is that you could decorate both apparel and promotional goods with the same piece of equipment. Screen printing, it gets really hard to decorate on some of those dimensional items. And earlier this week, I was just printing on fanny packs. Like, I would never think to screen print on them just because it would be so hard. They're made of 100% polyester. I'm going to scorch them when I dry them. With a heat press, they were super simple and easy to use and print. All right, I'm still scrolling through this list. A lot of custom apparel, but want my own brand. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy Taylor down in Texas. She comes sees us at the shows down there when the Impressions Expo gets down there as well. Custom, we do both, customer brand. All right, we'll keep this kind of like a mix. Dominique asks, will we see examples of each transfer type? Some of the language and vocabulary is confusing. So Dominique, we will talk about transfer types. We're not going to show off specific examples, but we'll show off some tools and some resources that you could use, even get you some free samples that are going to be able to help you see each transfer type. We'll break it down into categories that's going to really make it so much easier in there. So Dominique, stick with us. We will keep that answered for you. Custom apparel or brand, we got a lot of both, mixed promotional products, doing a lot of both. So we'll keep it nice and focused to both. And I think it's going to be applicable regardless of what you're looking to do. So we're also going to talk about workspace and fulfilling orders. I already kind of talked about pricing when we're talking about equipment choices and kind of the costs associated with everything. It has to be factored into your pricing in some way. Otherwise, businesses need to make money. You're going to be a nonprofit or a negative profit business. And we want to avoid that, okay? We're also going to talk about, your workspace and how to fulfill orders. So that's one thing that, especially just when you're getting started, it might seem daunting, that the process of putting orders through and some of the bookkeeping of it. And we'll definitely scratch the surface, get your inspiration and your mind, the wheels turning, and get you speeding off towards a fantastic start or expansion of your business. So the first step here, like I mentioned, is a plan. And your plan, pretty much for the most part, is going to be what you are going to sell. So it's a good thing to start detailing what you want to sell. Now, you don't have to go all out right away and get this humongous catalog. Yes, there's this wide world of apparel out there, but a lot of them are made for specific use cases, whether they're a golf polo, that could be crossover into like some corporate branding and like employee uniforms and stuff as well, if you are that kind of premium brand. But I will say in the 14 years that I've been printing apparel, t-shirts and cotton dominant or 100% cotton t-shirts are still one of the most popular 90 some percent of the things that I've ever printed. Hoodies probably bring it in as a second, just because here seasonally in Ohio, it gets a little cold and decorated hoodies become really popular come late August, early September, where you see them everywhere. And usually it's like one of my favorite things to wear. I also love my crew neck sweatshirts like I'm wearing today. I think this is the Next Level 9000. It has a kangaroo pocket, like it's a hoodie, but it's a crew neck sweatshirt. It's one of my favorite things. And I do love the Next Level brand. I'll talk about them a little bit coming up if we get into one of my specific examples. Of course, what you're going to be doing. So like if you are running your brand or planning to do both, make sure that you're noting kind of plans for both of them, how you're going to sell, how you're going to position that merch, and what services are you going to offer. With a heat press, you could offer the screen printed look and feel, you could offer specialty effects. And of course, if you want to expand to screen printing, or maybe you already have an existing embroidery business or anything else like that, where you could add these services on top of each other. If you don't, that's completely fine. And you could still offer those services, leveraging partners for your business. Getting started, just make some introductions, and odds are there's a local print shop, maybe a screen print shop for those larger, huge orders that you're like, there's no way I could produce 2,000 shirts in this timeline. That's when it's good to leverage some of those partnerships. But in 90% of cases, you could keep all of your production in-house. And I'm talking in-house, like in your home as a home-based business, whether it be a garage or a spare office. We've even seen businesses start up in like a closet. One of the companies that I worked for, their business started in the back of a van. Right? So there is a ton of opportunity regardless of what your space looks like. A big thing to keep into account. So you have like what products you're going to be doing, how you're going to be decorating them, right? We're going to talk heat transfers here today, but also your minimum order. So if somebody comes in custom, obviously if you're running your own brand, your minimum order is going to be like 1. But what is that cost going to be associated with that as well? And that's going to vary based on your apparel style that you're getting. And when we get into costs in a little bit, we'll talk a little bit more of that. But do you want to set a minimum order? Or if somebody comes in and says, I just want 1 t-shirt, is that something that you're going to do? With a heat press and with new technology like direct-to-film transfers, I don't see why anybody doesn't offer down to 1 minimum quantity, right? Because you're going to charge the customer accordingly. You're not going to give them 1 shirt custom printed for $10, the same price as if they were buying 100 of them, right? You're not going to do that. You're going to say, okay, I have to purchase a blank. I have to set up 1 piece of artwork for this. It's going to be $35. It's going to be $45 for 1 custom shirt. Now, you could go around to different sites on the internet and kind of see the going rate, but the going rate for like 1 custom shirt in like 1 print location, and maybe it's like, you could only print 11 by 11 or like 11 by 6 on the shirt. A lot of them have those limitations for low quantities. You're going to see something in the price range of like $19 to $40 for that, right? And especially if they need a quick turn, that's when you could start talking about more pricing as well. But if you want to set a minimum quantity, it's good to set that up. And then also, you want to make sure that that is appropriate for your customers. You're going for big businesses or schools and like, oh, the minimum we'll do is 48, that might work. But if you're going to go to small businesses, landscapers, and say minimums of 48, and they're like, well, I only have 6 employees, you're already kind of writing off a lot of that audience for it. So just want to make sure that those are things that you're taking into consideration, and things that I've ran into down the road, even at established print shops. And one thing that is commonly ran into with both established apparel decorators and beginners is the debate whether to take customer provided apparel or you provide the wholesale apparel. In all of my experience, you should be in control of the apparel yourself. And that is for several different reasons. Number one, in a lot of cases, you will make mistakes. Even when you're learning, like I said, it took me about 3 weeks, a ton of wasted t-shirts, a ton of screens and ink, and I think I bought emulsion 3 times and 6 different light bulbs to try to make sure I was exposing the screen properly. With a heat press, you don't have to do all of that, but with placement mistakes or just misapplied to the application instructions or whatever it may be, right? always account for those mistakes. So if your customer provides the apparel, you don't know how to replace it if it gets damaged. My favorite part of being in control of the apparel and ordering the apparel myself is that I mark it up 100% every single time. So if it costs me $4 wholesale to buy, I'm saying that that t-shirt is $8, right? And then you're putting a decoration cost on top of it. Or we'll get into some pricing models where essentially both just your cost of production, the cost of the goods will just be doubled. So you get extra markup on that. If they bought them wholesale and they're like, well, we know these t-shirts are $4. I can't believe you would charge somebody $8 for them, right? Not a lot of people have access to those sites, know where to get the apparel, or have the account already set up. So in many cases, you'll see that pricing is hidden unless you have an account created. And for somebody who's not interested in apparel decorating, they're not going to be going in and looking like that, right? Also with customer supplied apparel, like if your customers are giving you t-shirts to print, sometimes they are pre-laundered. And depending on the laundering, a fabric softener is notorious for giving printers headaches. So it puts chemicals into the fibers of the fabric of the t-shirt. So that cotton t-shirt now has other materials in it that may repel the adhesives with a heat transfer. It may repel the inks with screen printing. Embroidery is pretty much the only method you could get away foolproof with any coatings or any washings on the apparel. But then you don't know the weight. It's not something you've decorated before, and it opens up a world of issues, right? Now, when we talk about the description of items that you're going to carry, one of my number one bits of advice just getting started, whether you are running your own brand or custom decorating gets a little bit harder because you have to take the customer requests. But if you are running your own brand, start very simple. And that is starting with just 1 to 3 different styles in maybe 1 to 3 different colorways. So you have a t-shirt, you have a hoodie, and maybe a tank top or a women's cut or a V-neck, right? But in most cases like that, you could get away with a t-shirt and a hoodie. And then on top of that, you're going to do just a couple different styles, right? Or a couple different colorways, sorry. So like you might have a navy, a black, and a gray, right? Most popular colors that we see sold. And so you just want to ensure that you're not getting in over your head, or you're not having to stock a ton of inventory just getting started. Simplifying that base, that canvas, takes a lot of that production work and the setup and all of that back end work, and it super simplifies it. So if you are just working by yourself in your spare time, it's your side hustle and you're looking to get it off the ground, it really helps simplify that. Now, if you are a custom decorator, of course, you're going to take requests, and they say that diner that you approach says, well, our color is red. We want it on red shirts. You're not going to stock those shirts. You'll order everything in after it's ordered. So you're reducing your risk. There's no financial risk on your end, right? And then so being able to find that specific style. But what I like to do too, and I've seen it work for so many different brands, is offering 3 different tiers of each product. Of course, if the customer is in the know and they say, well, we like the Next Level 3600 t-shirt, I want it on Next Level 3600, then go buy Next Level 3600s for them. But I would say the vast majority of customers that I've talked to, that I've printed apparel for throughout my entire career, have no idea what blanks are. They might know of Fruit of the Loom, Hanes, Gildan, maybe, because they've seen them on the shelves in the bulk packs at Walmart or Target, or they've just been brands that they've seen on t-shirt labels, but they don't know about Bella Canvas or Next Level. Maybe they've heard of American Apparel. You know, American Apparel did have retail stores for quite a long time, so they were a little bit more just customer general public facing, but now they are under Gildan as a wholesale brand. Of course, there's Alternative, an independent trading company. District, Port & Company is one of my favorites. And it is a otherwise outside the apparel decorating industry completely unknown, which is great because it's a low cost for you. And especially if you're relabeling garments, like tearing the inside label out and putting your brand name in there, your customer has no context whatsoever what the blank of that garment costs. It's all perceived value. So if it is a nice, print on it, different locations, it's branded on the inside tag, it looks like it's worth much more than it actually is. And what that means is more profit in your pocket. So keeping it simple, especially instead of like offering every color under the sun, if you're running your own brand, it does get challenging, let's say, to manage that inventory. But we'll talk about some tools that we could use to make that a little bit easier. So, of course, when we are creating a business plan, we need to talk about our customer. And that's really going to help us look at like what styles we're going to sell. So here we have Nurses Week as our example on screen right here. And that is the niche that we're going to target. The smaller your niche is, the more targeted your shirts will be, and the more I would say that you have a better chance of converting, especially if you are just a brand. We see a ton of different brands focused on everything under the sun, right? But one of the big ones that we've seen, especially like if you're on TikTok and looking at anything, we have a few decorators that we talk to all the time, and they are in kind of like a mental health awareness kind of healthcare. I'm mentioning one specifically, Mel, who came from I believe she's a registered nurse, started doing some custom apparel on the side, and I think has since quit nursing and runs her business full time now. So what started as a side hustle kind of blossomed because of this niche. She got this avid fan base because she was talking in the right verbiage. She was a nurse herself. She understood what nurses wanted or what was near and dear to their heart, and she capitalized on that with her designs. It started with stuff that she was just like, I want to spread this positivity and awareness. And of course, because she was a nurse and wanted to do it, other nurses wanted to do it too. So like starting with that niche that maybe is your own hobby, right? Maybe it is part of your local community. Maybe it is your favorite sport or a sport that you play or a club that you're a part of, right? It could be as simple as like a book club, and you start making shirts directed towards readers, right? I know my wife we have an entire room full of bookshelves and books, and she loves reading books, and any opportunity she can to pretty much tell people about it, she does. And so she has tons of shirts that are either related to the book she's reading or just general kind of bookworm kind of shirts. So it's definitely something that's a niche that is, those are targeted to her. You do want to be careful about narrowing your niche, like super, super laser focused. Like if you're like, I want to decorate for only kindergartens and elementary schools and daycares, and I live in a small town, it's going to be you could only sell so much. There's only a very small customer base. So you want to make sure it's not too wide. If it is too wide, that's not a bad thing to have, but it makes advertising your services difficult and expensive because you have to reach a whole bunch of people instead of segmenting your audience to just reach a small amount of people to be more effective and have them relate to your brand. Because say, yes, this, you're running a nursing brand like this and you're talking to somebody who, I'm just trying to think of something completely opposite of like healthcare, but like, I don't know, like it's terrible, like rock and roll, right? Like a metal band, right? If you're saying like, I do custom apparel and you've been doing a lot for like healthcare workers in your area or maybe local hospitals that you've been contracting through, and you want to go pick up heavy metal bands as another customer, you're not going to convert them by showing them this nursing shirt. You want to show them stuff that they're going to relate with and go and picture their own brand or band in this case on that shirt as well. So one thing too about this niche helps you understand how you're going to differentiate yourself from the market. So one thing to keep in mind there. Of course, another example we'll put right here would be construction, right? Knowing the construction companies, I use my father-in-law as an example all the time, similar to this, worked in the trades his entire life, retired now, but started picking up, hey, I could do some custom apparel, knowing that the shops locally were very limited and turn time was long from when he had to order apparel. Now he has those relationships he's built over time and leverages those, knowing that they need high visibility workwear. Of course, the low cost because they're outfitting an entire crew and they're going to be on a work site, and probably in the next 2 weeks, those shirts are going to be trashed, right? I need low cost. I need high visibility for the requirements on it. For the managers, they like wearing, and the supervisors, the foremen, they like wearing the dry fit because they like to be comfortable at work. All that stuff, tool belts, any other accessories that you may need understanding and knowing that niche helps you connect so much more to them, which is going to lead to more sales down the road. Also, they are perfect for advertising in the same exact kind of custom scenario for construction. You're wearing them on the job site, usually around other trades. So if the electrician company, the electric company, and the electricians on site are all wearing the gear, and somebody shows up from the masonry or the window fitters, and they're like, hey, those uniforms look great. Now they're also able to share your information within that niche, and that's how you're going to grow your brand awareness and get more customers too, right? Maybe even like the hard hat stickers, right? Knowing that a lot of different jobs will give stickers to put on the hard hats, and giving promotional stickers away, right, for that. So like, hey, like this shirt, let's go ahead and get some free advertising exactly where our audience is. How great is that, right? So that's one thing definitely to keep in mind. I am very sorry. The chat is going crazy here. And so I just want to ensure that there's nothing it looks like Mike's been able to answer some questions in there. And yeah, you guys are asking some fantastic questions in here. And yeah, that's exactly what this is here for. I see Craig says, like, Catherine, most school districts have an approved vendor list. You must be on the list or they can't buy from you. Then that's true. A lot of school districts purchase with POs from either the school administration level or even sometimes in the district level. So getting that relationship set up and getting approved as a vendor is definitely the first step to being able to when you're trying to get into it, right? So very, very important. Now we're going to get into a little bit more of the business plan here, and behind my nice little picture here, right, probably right here, is this little business plan that I'll have Mike drop a chat to here in the chat section, which will be a link to download this free PDF. So this is I went through it was 5 or 6 different business plans, right? Like, here's your roadmap for a business plan. And a lot of them are super, super complicated. Knowing me as a creative who's not necessarily like super well versed on a financial side, or let's be honest, a planning side in general, that I took everything and simplified it into 8 easy steps so that you could easily just kind of in 1 or 2 sentences write down what you essentially want to achieve. So Mike will drop that chat to the Simple Apparel Printing Business Plan right over in that chat section for you guys to download. It's completely free and my resource to you if you're just getting started, or maybe you're just looking to take your business to the next level or never really built out a business plan. These 8 questions and answers just, kind of very simply could help you stay on track. So number 1 here is the problem, right? Like, what problem is your business going to solve? In the case of the construction company example that I talked about, like, this will solve the problem of branded workwear for construction companies. Number 2 is the solution, right? So how is your business going to solve the above? With a heat press and custom printed apparel, we're able to produce a wide variety of different items for the construction trades. How is your business going to make money with a business model? We are going to sell these with our relationships. We will leverage sales with specific companies as well as a e-commerce site. If you're a brand, this is going to be, this is my website, right? I'm going to funnel all of my sales through my website. Number 4 is your target audience. So defining your audience and who you are going to be talking to, essentially, right? Who is going to be buying your products. Number 5 is promotion. So how will that audience that you've now defined hear about you? Well, maybe there are trade publications. Maybe it's social media ads, right? Maybe it's leveraging here in Ohio, we're a union state. So going to the local unions, right? Going to these businesses, looking them up in the white pages, emailing, right? Cold calling, still a very good strategy, or leveraging your current relationships. The same with the schools, like, how is that audience going to learn about you? Attend a PTA meeting, right? Go in and be a part of the community. When you start local, that usually is a great first step in the door, especially if they're using a more national vendor. Being in their backyard or being part of the community, or even helping out or volunteering or donating to the athletic club shows that you are dedicated to your community and that you're going to be a valuable resource to them, right? So very, very important. So 6, your advantage. What is going to make you better than your competition, right? So that is a big step when you're talking about your advantage, your competitive, essentially your value proposition to the industry. What are you going to do better? Is it going to be faster, higher quality? Are you going to understand your customer and suggest things? Could you offer free design services for people who don't have logos? Whatever it may be, what is your advantage? And if there are competitors, say even in your local area, right? Go look at the Google reviews and see what people are complaining about. That is your door right there to steal their customers. Do what they're doing or do what their customers are frustrated about, and you're going to do it better, which is kind of like what we see on screen here with the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? When we see those threats, that's the competition. You want to make sure that you are you have that competitive edge against them. Of course, number 7 on the business plan, as we wrap this up, is just financial planning. So kind of looking at your target audience. Okay, I'm dealing with construction companies. I know there are 12 of them in my local area. It appears that each one of them employs from 5 to 50 employees, right? And they're going to need to buy this much, just kind of like doing some simple math that like, okay, if I converted on every single one of them, I can make $500,000 this year. Of course, 100% conversion rate is unheard of in almost any industry. And if you are that good of a salesperson, please email me directly. I'm kidding. Do you utilize it yourself for your own brand if you're here in if you're here in the webinar, right? But kind of get an idea of how much you are going to sell, right? So like for my own brand that I run, right? I thought about it's very local, community focused right now. So just looking at, and it's directed at like automotive or like commuters, right? So I know there's a huge portion of people who commute here in the Northeast Ohio area, right? It's just funny sayings and slogans for like different highways. I have a long commute every day. And of course, I like to make fun of it, embrace it, right? So now I've defined this niche, how many people drive in the area, right? So if I say I could advertise on Facebook marketing to, 6,000 people, 10,000 people, let's just say 10,000, right? And I could have a industry benchmark or maybe a little bit higher, come from a marketing background. So I like to think that I market well. If I could have a 25% conversion rate and I'm looking at 10,000, then I know how many purchases I could have over the span of a year or whatever. I'm going to be reaching those 10,000 people, right? So what's that? 25% of 10,000 would be 2,500 purchases, right? So that would be a goal that I'd set for myself. And then you go look at your operating costs and see through that, right? So, and see how much your operating costs are going to be, how much in an ideal world you can make, and in like worst case scenario. So like in that same scenario, if like, okay, worst case scenario, out of 10,000 people, I might have a 7% conversion rate or whatever, right? So like, okay, I'm looking at 700 people, 700 conversions, which still is over the span of a year. That could be a lot for a small business, right? So I do just want to check the chat here to make sure that there's no crazy things in here. John says, thanks for offering the download, taking notes like crazy. Yes, this is built to help you out. In this digital PDF, feel free to print out. And if you make a mistake, just start over. But it's great to just have one little sentence in there that's going to help guide you through that. So that's very, very important. Let's see. Yeah, we're talking about some different apparel wholesalers. That's absolutely perfect. Let's see. How much time does it take to deliver and print it to the customer? Puneet, that's going to be that's a great question, number one. And it depends on a few different things, where the apparel warehouse is into you to ship it to you. And here at Transfer Express, if you're decorating with heat transfers, the majority of our transfers that we ship out the next business day if ordered before production cutoff. So like Ultracolor Max, if you order it today, it's past production cutoff, at least Eastern time here. So it will ship out tomorrow. But you have until 8 a.m. tomorrow to have it ship essentially the same day. Then it's 2 hours, essentially, or 2 days, 2 hours. Hopefully we don't go 2 hours today, but tons of great information here. It'll be 2 days anywhere in the United States in there. So Brian says, fun fact, I'm currently watching this webinar over my lunch break, waiting for my class to begin. It's an entrepreneur program. We are currently working on our business plan. This is all great info we've covered so far. Brian, I would love to hear what your professor thinks. Or the instructor for that entrepreneurship program thinks of my very, very simplified business plan. And if they give it a thumbs up, man, that's going to be fantastic. I did have somebody who is like a CFO of a print shop, and they were like, this is this is probably the most simplified I've ever seen it and the most understandable. And I was like, well, I spent a long time putting it together, so that means a lot. But what means a lot is if it's helpful to you. I don't care what other people say about it. If it's helpful to you, that's my number one goal out of all of it. And Terry said, Brian, you're the teacher then? That's awesome. 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 Let's see. All right. I just want to get down and make sure that we have everything all set up. Perfect. Yeah, Marilyn says, Halo Custom Tees. I do live in a rural area, but would love to do local business as opposed to online, but to do both. Yes. So like being able to do both is definitely one thing you could do. You could reach outside your local community, or even go, more to like neighboring towns, but leveraging those local connections, especially it's so easy in rural areas because there are, there's a lot of different businesses and a lot of different stores. There are farms. There are, essentially like anything you could think of that, like a lot of those farms go to farmers markets, right? Or their dairy products, right? And they might have other locations or other partners that they're able to refer you to. It's definitely a lot of low competition to be able to get your foot in the door, especially I'd love. My dad grew up in rural Ohio and like everybody knows each other. So like when somebody's like, oh, hey, we need new t-shirts for the diner. Somebody in there is going to be like, Marilyn, I know Marilyn. Do you know Marilyn? She does custom t-shirts and you are energizing your customer base and starting local, but a wide target. That's your niche is local, right? Whatever it may be, local custom. I'm here. I'm going to get it to you quick. I'm going to be communicative with you. We're going to walk through this entire process together. And that's one thing, especially with custom. With brands, yes, you do have to build up trust with your customer base because you are, in some cases, just a social media persona or a website, right? That doesn't have a face. And somebody's going to give you money hoping you're going to send them something. They don't want it to be a scam, right? But with custom, it's way different. There is a huge piece of trust that is this, that's essentially the cornerstone to running your business. Because somebody's going to have an idea they want you to bring to life. They're going to give you money, in most cases, up front for you to bring their idea to life, which is just kind of crazy to think about. But you need to be able to have them trust you. And so that communication, the mock-ups, all that stuff is really going to be built to help you succeed here. So yes, identify your competition, compare with them, whether it is your expertise, whether it's the apparel styles that you offer, because there's shops I've worked at that just go like, yeah, whatever you want. And they're like, well, I just want like a basic t-shirt. And then they're like, all right, this is our basic t-shirt. So I'll come with a good, better, best always for t-shirts. There's the good, better, best. And so when I come with apparel styles, regardless of what their budget is, it's always good to ask, like, hey, what's your budget? Because that might narrow you in like, okay, you could only afford the good, right? The lowest tier. But if they say, oh, that's a much higher budget than I thought you were coming with, let's start to explore some more fashion forward items, some very, very higher quality t-shirts, if that's what you're into, right? So leveraging that expertise and leveraging the solutions and the offerings to your customers, especially as a custom decorator, is incredibly valuable. So we'll still kind of talk about some stuff that's on the business plan here. So just another reminder for that free download. Ramon has a great question. Will UCM ever be cut separately? It's coming soon. Shh. I didn't tell you that. Okay. You didn't hear that from Dave, but we are looking for a, we are exploring a way to get that to you to have those cut out too. So UCM, if you are brand new to us here, and thank you for that great question, Ramon. UCM is our Ultra Color Max. It is a direct to film transfer. We like to think it's one of the best direct to film transfers on the market. Of course, you're going to be like, well, Dave works for Stalls. Of course, he's going to say that. At this point, I've tried almost every single vendor of direct to film. I've got a postcard right here, right? Got a postcard that got mailed to us, and I bought direct to film from them. Guess what? Not better than ours, right? And actually, this company was slightly higher in price. So I was expecting a much higher premium quality. There's a lot that goes into direct to film printing, and even coming from a screen print background, I'm guilty, right? That I'm like, nah. Digital transfers, the technology is so good these days that the vast majority of people, the people that I print for, will see a direct to film print and be like, this is screen printed, right? And in some cases, I'll say it's printed. In some cases, I will say it's a digital print. And that's how I could offer it to you without setup fees at such a low, inexpensive price. And I would say the 96% of people I've ever printed for don't even ask. They want their logo on a shirt. They don't care how the sausage is made, right? They want their brand on a logo. They want it to stay there and be durable, and a heat press is going to give you that, right? So let's get back into our business plan here. That was a good tangent on Ultracolor Max and direct to film. Yeah, I see Doug even asking in there. So hopefully okay. We talked about Ultracolor Max. Thank you. Thanks, Kathy, for getting into it. That's in the chat. It's so hard to keep up. Sorry. But yeah, Ultracolor Max in there. Yeah, great. Brian, catch the webinar later. Enjoy your entrepreneur class or your real life entrepreneur class with Dave. We'll always be here for you. Always. So, looking at your business plan, how are you going to market your products, right? Is it the website? Spirit Sale, of course, is a website through Stalls and an easy builder for different companies. So if you want to be able to offer the diner for them to sell merch, number one, but then for their employees to just go in there and select different styles, you could set up a web store for them, right? So a store specific with a URL that's going to link directly to them. So they could put a QR code up on the menu or whatever and say, hey, pick up your merch, right? And then you're able to capture that order and fulfill it. You could use those for fundraisers for schools, right? Team uniforms and stuff like that, where you need the entire team to buy stuff, and then you place the order all at once or always open stores. Just recently, we have announced our Fulfill Engine, the Stalls Fulfill Engine platform, which essentially is a software that not only allows you to stand up stores, whether as fundraisers or always open or teams or whatever it may be, and they're white label stores. So essentially they could be branded to the school or the business or whoever you're standing the store up for. They could even embed that store then in their own website. And it even connects to Shopify as well. So if you're working with a customer with Shopify, or maybe you already have your brand working on Shopify, essentially what Fulfill Engine will do is especially as like a sole proprietor, right? If you are the only person running your business, it completely eliminates a lot of the manual chores that you have to do. So like on my store, it's run through Shopify, right? And before Fulfill Engine, when an order would come through, I would have to place an order for apparel or go to my shelf where I had stocked inventory, right? So when I first launched my store, it's all just navy t-shirts, right? So it was all one style, Next Level 3600 navy t-shirts. So I super simplified it, all of the artwork designed specifically for navy t-shirts. So with that, I stocked up and I bought probably $100 worth of apparel right off the bat. And so every time an order came in, I had to manually go in and say, okay, changed order status to in progress. I'd grab the shirt, I'd order the transfer. So I'd order the image. I did have some upfront, but those went fairly quick, right? For photographs and stuff like that. Or just merch that I wanted to wear, or wash testing to ensure that it was going to be what I wanted to run my brand on, right? But with Fulfill Engine now, I don't have to do that. Like it will automatically order the shirt, or at least put it in a cart to be ordered with, I could set the threshold every time it reaches $200 it orders, or if it doesn't do that within 3 days, it's just going to automatically order them and I'll pay shipping on it, right? So now it's automatically ordered and it's going to come in. I'm going to be able to ship it out the door in 3 to 5 days, which is what the website says. These are all made custom. And so it ships in 3 to 5 days. For Etsy or Shopify or any of, I think TikTok, it has to get out in 3 days, 4 days, I think is the max that you could do, but you'll set that up accordingly if you're going to be selling on one of those platforms as well. So just one thing to think about when you're going to do that. So, but not only does Fulfill Engine order everything for you automatically, whether it's going to be the specific transfer and the piece of apparel, but then it manages the entire work order on the back end and just super simplifies anything, whether you are a commercial shop or just getting started. And the cost is, there is no subscription per month. It's just per transaction. So if you are moving a lot, you will pay for it. But if you're not moving anything, it's no cost to you month to month. There is a small onboarding fee to get your business set up with it and get training on it, which there is an entire team dedicated to that. So if we are, if anybody's interested in that, maybe Mike could throw a chat to that or a link to the Fulfill Engine site over on Stalls just to learn a little bit more. But it's great to, I mean, especially if you have an established brand and you're doing, or a business and you're doing a lot of manual data entry and it's taking up a lot of your time. that it might be something good to explore in there. But of course, there's still Etsy. There is Shopify. Like I mentioned, I started Shopify. It's a great platform. I think I pay $29 a month for the basic plan. Sometimes they have specials where it's like free for 3 months, and you could start to generate good amounts of sales through there. So it's really nice with that. And then, of course, you could advertise. How are you going to advertise? Is it going to be Google Ads? Is it going to be keywords? Is it going to be videos? Is it going to be TikTok? Is it going to be social media? I see so many brands that are like, yeah, we set up a Facebook page just to get the Meta account, but we really heavily focus our efforts on Instagram, right? Being inherently visual, that's where I find a lot of apparel decorators kind of just go, and it's that community. But now with TikTok and a lot of the content marketing being more important than ever, creating content and sharing with like-minded people is very, very important. Fran says, Dave, what's the style number for your shirt? Missed it earlier. I think this is the next level 9001. I think if you just search next level crew neck hoodie, I think it should come up in Google. So I got this one direct from I don't know where I got it from. Might have been SNS, might have been Next Level Direct. I don't know. I've had it for a while and I really, really like it. So let's see. Is Stall's coming out with a software for our customers to design and be charged for a product that is branded website type product to help us grow? I know about Spiritwear websites, but they are limited. So Chris, yeah, I know that the plan would be to use something like EasyView Online Designer and combine it with Fulfill Engine. And I know the team's working hard on that, but we're trying to make sure that everything's working properly before we add a whole bunch of features in that. But if people like you are asking for it, we are noting it, and we want to help your business succeed. So if that is a solution that's going to elevate your business, and having that online design capability would be incredible. It's going to put you right on par, whether you're just starting out. It's going to make you look like custom ink, right? With an online designer, an established print shop that's been around for 35 years, you're going to have the same solutions, sometimes even better than what they have just starting out. So you could be more competitive than ever at that national competitor scale, as well as locally, right? Because the local print shop in your area probably doesn't have that, right? So keep an eye out for that when it's coming in. Let's see. 9001, France found it. Perfect. Let's see. Russ says, could you explain more about Ultra Color Max? No minimum gang sheets. How's that priced? So Ultra Color Max, again, is the direct-to-film transfer that you could order just one, or you could order many. You can gang sheet if you want to. I'm going to let you know in a little secret. Don't gang sheet, because you could order just one. Say, I just need like a 1 inch by 1 inch logo here, but I need 30 of them. Just make the 1 inch by 1 inch logo and then order 30 of them. They'll come on a roll and we'll gang sheet them for you. But when you gang sheet, it's essentially grabbing all of the entire area. So if there's space in between each image, you're paying for that. So you're paying for that blank carrier with any gang sheet or other direct to film printers out there. Say like, oh, we only have set sheet sizes. So it's like, oh yeah, you could get it's a 11 by 17 inch sheet that you could buy. Well, my graphic's only 11 by 6. Because it's 11 inches, you have to get the 11 by 17 size. And you're paying for blank carrier, right? So we want to reduce the cost as much as we can. So you're only paying for the image area on your ink. So you could just add one to cart, and then you have another image, right? That maybe it's a logo for the left chest and maybe a sleeve print too then, right? Order them separately, and you're only paying for the ink and the size of your order. No spare carrier on the sheet. Will cover the cost on that. Now, if gang sheeting totally makes sense for your business and you're like, well, I just want a gang sheet of all of the artwork all on one page because I'll cut it out myself and it just makes sense to this order's just going to all stay together instead of receiving all these little bits and pieces. Perfectly fine. I would recommend making it about a 1/2 inch between each image so that you are only paying half of 6 cents a square inch is 3 cents. So it's very, very minimal added expense when you nest them together. There are some cases where think of a yin yang, right? So two shapes that kind of fit together, that you could nest them together. And instead of just buying one, because it has a little area up here that's extending the entire bounds. So if I had to draw a box around the artwork, that when I put two together now, the two actually take up less space than it costs for one, right? So, slightly less space because I'm using this space in the middle. So if that makes sense, sometimes it is more cost effective to gang sheet. 90% of the time, just order them separately and keep it nice and easy, and don't spend too much money. But we're going to keep moving on. I want to make sure we get through all of our stuff here today. And yeah, we still have a whole bunch more to cover as well. So now we're going to talk a little bit about costs, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're making your business plan. Take into consideration your cost. It was one of my mistakes that I made just getting out and just getting started. I wasn't accurately keeping track of all of my costs. So number one, come tax time, that was a headache, right? So it's good. Now I just keep a Google Doc going. I throw receipts in there and purchases and dates so that like I could go and say like, oh, the receipt's in my email. So I don't even have to grab it. I just could go search, on February 8th at, I bought from, transferexpress.com, and this was my order total. So like I could just go into my email, find that invoice and be able to pull it come tax time, right? So that's one thing to take into consideration, but all of the costs you need to consider could be a very, very long list or a short list, especially with a very, very lean business model, say with just a heat press, right? So for this instance, right, equipment is going to be your heat press, but if you have to buy a computer, if you are cutting vinyl or anything as well, like the cost for that Cricut or Silhouette or Roland or Graphtec or whatever cutter that you have, right? So any equipment purchases that you have. Of course, you should consider the cost for your workspace. Now, if you have an LLC and you're filing taxes as a business and you are self-employed, you are able to write off part of that, that workspace as your home, right? Because it is technically your work. So just keep into consideration of that. You're not going to be able to write off your whole mortgage. So or at least I haven't heard of anybody successfully getting away with that. And I would not suggest you do that, right? But in some cases, it's a shed that you'll build in the backyard or taking over the garage or whatever it may be, just your workspace, right? Any costs associated with that too. I saw our good friend Ty Kane out Crafted Manufacturing out of Denver, Colorado, just got some new Husky adjustable height tables. I saw those at Home Depot and I really want some myself, right? So that's an expense into the workspace. Of course, blank apparel is going to cost, be one of your more variable costs, depending on what your weekly volumes looking like or what orders you're printing on, or even what styles. We were just looking at varsity jackets, right? Very, very popular. Of course, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce rocked theirs and but that just shows you how popular it is, that it's not just for Letterman jackets and high school seniors anymore, right? But some of those jackets we were looking at are like $120 blank, sometimes even more, right? Now, there are options that are like $29 blank. There's a really, really great one. I believe it's on transferexpress.com in the wholesale apparel section. I don't remember the exact style of it, but it's like, it looks pretty good for being $29. Of course, like the one that's 170 is like real leather and like really nice, like acrylic felt and like all of these nice little piping details and stuff. But again, now that's the good, better, best. When your customer says, hey, I want some varsity jackets, you're like, all right, what's your budget looking like? Or, hey, look at these options, and being able to provide those options, or say like, hey, I could even order samples for you. There's a lot of people who aren't going to do that, right? Or being able to do a pre-production sample or show you a mock-up beforehand, right? So that's something we'll get into in just a little bit. Of course, the decoration method, the transfer. So in this case, using a heat press, the equipment cost is a heat press and the transfer, right? So that's the only two things that we need to produce this. Say you want to do screen printing. Now you need a screen printing press. You need a dryer, possibly a flash unit. You need emulsions. You need inks. You need screens. You need squeegees. And you're probably going to need different durometer squeegees, and you're going to need a whole bunch of different inks. Maybe if you're custom mixing inks, you're going to need pigments and the just white ink that you're going to mix pigments into, or the mediums that you're going to use. You're going to need screen cleanup and all of the materials. Now you're going to need space to house all of these larger pieces of equipment. That's why starting at home with a heat press is the most easy, accessible, small footprint way to do it. And of course, when we're talking about all those things that you just need to be able to screen print, those right there probably cost double of what this Fusion heat press that we're looking at on screen actually costs, right? One thing that I never accounted for in my very, very early days was my time. I thought, well, I'm just getting started. I don't need to account for my time. And I was losing a lot of money, right? It wasn't accurately, that was part of the cost that I wasn't accurately associating to it. Wasn't keeping track of it, right? And so like when I was just like, a customer would be like, well, I priced these online and it was $18. And I never went to go check like, true apples to apples. And like, then I do it for $18. I'm like, oh man, this took way longer than I thought. And like when I did the math after a couple projects, I was like, I think I lost money on that, which is not a good way to build a business. A great way to make friends, right? Because they're like, wow, I got one over on this guy. But there's so many cases where I know I sold myself short. And then my customer was like, oh, I was expecting these to be like $16 a piece, not 10. And it's like, that's $6 on each piece that I just lost, right? So don't sell yourself short. But there's ways that we're going to talk about how to check that. Now, of course, software and subscriptions. If you're buying any software, like I mentioned, like you're using Shopify, right? That you have to account for that monthly expense. A lot of designers, myself included, have Adobe Creative Cloud, right? And have the entire Adobe suite, which is a fairly hefty cost. You don't have to do that because there's a long learning curve. I went to school to learn how to use those programs, still paying the student loans, right? For learning how to use those programs. You don't have to do that. And I've been doing it for about 20 years now, at least before even it was Creative Cloud. And it was, I think, Creative Suite 4 is when I started using Adobe products. So like the early days of Photoshop and Illustrator, right? And so learning how to use those programs. I've been doing it for 20 years and I still learn things every single day. I think I'm super, super efficient, but I will show you our Easy View Online Designer. That's going to, you don't need to learn for 20 years to be able to use it. You don't even need to learn for a week. You could jump in there and it's very, very intuitive and some great tools to be able to do it. And that one comes with no subscription cost. So it is free. So the less you could limit your expenses, the higher profit you're going to build for yourself and your brand. So that's very, very important when it comes to getting your business off the ground and getting really started in here. Awesome. Yeah. Kate says, I love screen printing. There are folks who only want screen printing. And Kate, yes, I've dealt with a lot of those customers. I will also say I've stood on a trade show floor and held up a screen printed shirt and a plastisol screen print, the goof-proof screen printed transfers that we have here at Transfer Express. And a lot of the screen printers who actually screen print were like, I like this shirt. This feels great. And it was a heat transfer. So it's the same plastisol ink that I was screen printing with, that other people are screen printing with. Literally right behind this wall here, there's a warehouse filled with barrels of plastisol ink. I see the labels on them, and they're the same exact plastisol inks that the other commercial screen printing shops that I worked at stocked as well, right? So they are the same inks. It just takes the hassle of having all of that equipment, the dark room, the emulsions, learning how to use a squeegee and the correct angle and pressure and off contact and ink viscosity, and all that goes into like the complicated. It takes all of that. We handle that here at Transfer Express, so you don't have to. But the end finished result is plastisol ink bonded and cured to the fibers of a t-shirt. So at the end of the day, looks, wears, washes, feels very, very, I mean, it's almost exactly the same thing as a screen print. Just because it's applied with a heat press, though, it's smooth to the touch. There's no stippling on it where the screen bounced off, the cat tonguing that I've heard it referred to, where it feels like sandpaper, right? Like a cat's tongue, because there's these little points where the ink pulled up when the screen was lifting off of it, right? So you don't have any of that. It's a smooth print. So when you feel it to the hand, it feels like a soft hand screen print. You barely feel the ink on the shirt. And it's nice, bright, white, and opaque. You don't have to worry about registration or anything like that. And I've not given a screen printed, plastisol transfer, screen printed transfer shirt to anybody who wanted screen printing. And they were like, this is a transfer. You can't tell. So that's one thing. If you have not tried the screen printed transfers, the goof-proof screen printed transfers, get yourself a free sample. Because I will say, after screen printing at the time that I joined Transfer Express, I'd been screen printing for, I'm coming up on 4 years here. So it's just under 10 years maybe of screen printing. And the first time that I peeled it off and felt the shirt and was like, oh my God, my entire life's a lie. Why have I been doing it the hard way? Especially working by myself and spraying inks and adhesives or inks and screens out, all the emulsion in a slop sink. Or when I first started, it was in the bathtub and I was using the spray on the shower head. And like the girlfriend at the time still married me, right? So I did something right. I made sweet t-shirts. That's what I did right. Christian says, I started with a screen printing method. It was a lot of extra learning and space. I love transfers since I started using them. Yeah, me too. Like I said, I was like, my entire life is a lie. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the art of screen printing. And for a long time, I was doing a lot of band merch. and music promotion. So I started printing posters too. And like coming from a design background, it's the artist in me. I loved the craft of it. And I liked the process, right? But when I'm trying to make money and optimize my time and be profitable, I'm not doing that. I'm going to get the same result with the heat press. When I want to be artsy and, take my time and put my passion and like heart and soul into it, maybe I'll consider screen printing. But I haven't pulled the squeegee on a shirt. Well, that's a lie. I pulled the squeegee on a shirt just a couple of months ago when we filmed a video on like screen printing versus screen printed transfers, which maybe Mike could link that video to that screen printing and screen printed transfers video where I actually do pull a squeegee in our studio and compare direct. Now I use water-based inks instead of plastisol because I didn't want to use any cleaners and stuff. So there is apples to Fuji apples to Granny Smith apples comparison, not apples to oranges, but a little bit of comparison in there that does talk about the different processes. But you could see the work involved and the variables at play where when you're trying to get consistent, repeatable results by yourself in a short amount of time, a heat press is the way to go. And I believe that. And so then, I see a question in here from Chris, going back to kind of our labor. What do most of you guys charge labor per hoodie or t-shirt for a DTF front or back of quantities? 10 to 100. I know it's a loaded question. Any help will be appreciated. So it is a very, very loaded question. We'll talk about pricing here in just a little bit. Well, I'll cover some scenarios that are going to cover your labor expenses. And on our Heat Press for Profit podcast, Shelby Gage from Awesome Apparel shared that I think she said it's $2 anytime the heat press closes, right? So they'll mark up the garment, they'll 50% mark up the decoration cost, and then just add $2 for the labor, right? So every single time that press closes, it's $2. And that's a good way to look at it. Now, for 100, you might have to reduce that markup down a little bit, than $2 a press. Or if you want to stay standard with it, no, every time a press closes, it's $2, right? So maybe it's $1 for the front and the back. Figure out what your time takes you is number one, what I could suggest, right? So time yourself. Okay, for a standard front print and a standard back print, it takes me 20 seconds to get the shirt on the press. It takes me another 5 seconds to align the transfer, and that's it, right? So now you could start to see your capacity, and that's going to help you plan out your day too. Because that's one thing that I wasn't doing when I was considering my time. Number one, I wasn't considering the cost of my time, but I wasn't measuring the time it takes me to do things. So I would overpromise my day to myself and be like, oh, I got 3 orders to get out. I could get them out. When like, no, Dave, that first order is going to take 6 hours and the other 2 are going to take 3 apiece, right? And like, I wasn't considering that. So I was like, it's just gonna be 3, 3, and 3. Cool. I'll work a 9-hour day. No problem. Not considering that one is going to be different than the other. So when you're saying like, a front and a back, it might take a little bit more extra time. No, account for that yourself and account for your time. So a great way to do it. And look into that. Wow. I thought I was caught up with the chat and I'm not. Let's see. All right. Oh, and I might put the link in there too. That's great. Perfect. We're going to keep going and we're still going to be talking about our business plan here. And we're talking about the pricing, right? So how to compare versus your competition, whether it's a local competitor. And it gets hard with local competitors because a lot of times price lists aren't advertised for custom apparel, right? Now, if you're running your own brand, that's really easy, right? So for my own instance, my brand, there are 3 or 4, 5 very prominent brands that do Cleveland-based apparel. Now, of course, I attached myself to a niche that they don't serve, and that is a automotive or roadways, right? They'll celebrate landmarks and buildings and stuff, but like there's only one famous turn that we have down here that's been served by any clothing company. It's called Dead Man's Curve. It's essentially a highway abruptly turns 90 degrees. There's rumble strips on the ground and flashing lights that tell you to slow down. So it is safer now than it used to be, but it's like hey, that's a Cleveland famous thing. But, I spend every single day in a parking lot in downtown traffic. So I made a shirt that joked about it, right? Like free parking every weekday, 4 to 6 p.m. So in a nice little illustration of cars parked on a highway, right? So it's something that's funny and like could celebrate the commute. How many other people are stuck there in that, right? But the thing that I look at is the cost of their t-shirts. Okay, what are they selling their shirts for? I own a few of them myself that I've gotten as gifts or just thought, man, that design rocks. I need to own that, right? So I've looked at their t-shirts. I know that they print on a Bella canvas blanks, so very comparable to the next level that I have in terms of fit and feel. I'm inside branding them and doing a 2-print location, a left chest and a back print. So compared to their sleeve print and a front print with an inside tag, they're charging $30. Well, I know that I'm getting almost 3 times the cost if I charge something for $30. So I could charge, I think I set everything to like $24.99. It might have been like 27 and I strike it out to make it look like it's on sale, right? But I have a lot of wiggle room in pricing there, and knowing that I am very, very even with similar services in my own city. Now for custom, you could, of course, go to Custom Ink or any other online retailer, throw an apples to apples comparison, make sure you use the same print locations, you use the same garment, and you could get, in almost 100% of cases, whenever I've done it, I've always been able to beat the Custom Ink price, and then I beat them on other things too, whether it be turn time or communication with the customers, or I will provide a design, all the stuff that Custom Ink's not going to do for you. So yeah, let's see. I see a lot of discussion there about transfer types. You guys are, I love it, love it, love it, love it. And Craig says, yeah, the link shows that you can print Goof Proof, which is our screen printed transfer, most popular transfer at Transfer Express, and has been for about 30 years. And that it can print on 100% polyester. I will say with, even in the time that I've been in the apparel decorating industry, polyester has changed and you see a lot of recycled content. So there is some heat sensitivity issues where before, even 5 years ago, you could put 365 degrees to most polyester perfectly fine. Now you have to be under a 300 degree threshold or in that low 300s. So on Goof Proof, there is actually an alternate instruction, an application temperature for printing on 100% polyester exclusively. So you use a much lower temperature than that 365. But if you are printing on 100% polyester, there's a screen printed transfer at Transfer Express called ElastiPrints. And that is made specifically formulated in more of like an athletic formula. Think uniforms for baseball, softball, football, basketball. Very, very durable and a 290 degree application temperature that's going to be safe for most polyesters, even the recycled ones. So that's a way to put that same kind of screen printed look and feel on a polyester garment. And so, of course, pricing is important to your customer, and that's going to vary based on where you are. In Los Angeles, a t-shirt is much more expensive than here in Cleveland, Ohio. Even in Cleveland, Ohio, a t-shirt might be slightly more expensive than, say, Toledo, Ohio, or even if I go where I went to school, Bowling Green, Ohio, right? So in the middle of nowhere, of course, it's not in the middle of nowhere. It's south of Toledo. It's close to Michigan, and there's a school there, but there's a lot of cornfields and windmills, right? So that it might cost differently there. It actually might be way more expensive in Bowling Green because they know that you want to buy a college hoodie, and they're the only ones with rights to print that college hoodie, and so they're going to charge you $75 for it, right? So, of course, it always varies based on where it goes. Of course, free business resources to wrap this up. Of course, the ones that we already handed out, that little small business plan workbook, but you could get business plan templates over at, you could get a business plan template from us. And if you didn't already download it, maybe Mike could throw that link one more time in there. And I'm sure we'll wrap up at the end and we'll be able to throw another link in there. Score.org is a great small business and entrepreneur website. Tons of resources built to help your business out. And there's even like business mentors who have helped coach so many entrepreneurs through different steps, and they're able to help, and they are available to you for free. So that's one thing to really check out. Of course, for industry information, whether it be custom decorating, marketing, or even replays of these webinars, we have our YouTube page, Transfer Express, on our YouTube channel on YouTube. And we also have Stalls TV. So 2 channels that offer, essentially, there's at least 2 videos a week, sometimes 3 or 4. So just keep your eye out for all of those videos, stay up to date on products and all of these different transfer types, right? We show the latest and greatest, but we focus a lot. I think the video that came out today is on just blank apparel, right? So instead of having to go out and buy a whole bunch of blank apparel, we bought the blank apparel. I tried it on. I talked about the differences in it, how much they cost, what markets they're good for, and how they look, because some of them look very different than how they look online. Of course, they're trying to sell you on the t-shirt, right? So it's funny enough, no spoilers, but go watch that video today after the webinar, and it's on heavyweight tees. So whether you're doing construction or maybe you're doing a streetwear brand or something like that, these heavyweight tees are a lot more inexpensive than you think, and they feel pretty premium too, right? So, of course, you can do market research. Google Trends is a great website to be able to go to see what people are searching, especially in your niche. There are a lot of other tools where you could kind of do some keyword research and say, like, if somebody's looking for Ohio racing tees or Cleveland racing t-shirts or something like that, that I could go and see other keywords that they are listed on it. Some of them are free services. Of course, the paid ones are going to give you a little bit more accurate information. There's even like AI websites that do some of that for you. So like if you want more information on your niche or some help with that targeting to your specific audience, there are tools out there. Ask the Public is a good one too, because it consolidates a lot of like those Google questions or queries of people asking questions. And so like you could say like, well, what are people asking about commuting in Cleveland, and it could throw out some ideas either for new t-shirts for my brand or anything else like that. So yeah, super important. Let's see. I think you guys are talking about placement in there in the chat. I see some of that. 4 colors are possible with Goofproof and Hot Split. It could be expensive in lower quantities though. So that's one thing to take into consideration. We're going to get to it in just a little bit. Awesome. Sweet. We are going to keep going. Of course, as you get going, I strongly urge you to do things above the book. It's going to help come tax time. It's going to leave you less scrambling. An LLC to protect you in case any liabilities happen. You never know when something's going to go wrong. And especially if you're doing like knockoff Disney or NFL or like college stuff, something's going to go wrong eventually. And creating an LLC is going to keep that to the business. So none of your personal assets are going to be liable on that. And the business will have assets. And then, of course, a tax ID or an employer identification number is going to help unlock a lot of those reseller certificates that you need. If you live in California or New Jersey or New York, you may need a garment resellers or garment permit, in which case you will need to get those because I heard in the last webinar that we did, there are some people who have ran into some issues with that, even when they're like, well, I'm just printing. I'm not actually I'm not manufacturing garments. And they're like, no, you are technically finishing garments for sale. So you need a garment manufacturer's license or whatever it is called. So be sure to look in that for your local municipalities and what they require. In many states, you will need a business license as well. And the LLC and stuff you could get from your Secretary of State in your state. In most cases, at least here in Ohio, it's through the Secretary of State. And then the tax ID or the employer identification number would come from the IRS. So I know I don't like contacting the IRS. They do actually have an online portal that I believe makes it incredibly easy to get set up. There's tons of companies that that'll help you file for an LLC and incorporate your business, or you could do it by yourself as well. The other one, if you're just doing it for the first time, going through some of those services makes it incredibly easy. And they take a lot of like the weird junk mail and calls that you get because there's a running public list of new LLCs that pop up every single day. And having opened an LLC myself, I know that it's cool to get some when the first couple catalogs and customized pens show up to the door, you're like, oh, this is cool. And then the junk mail just keeps coming for years, right? So some of that is mitigated when you go through one of those services, which is great. If you like free swag and going through piles and piles of catalogs that you'll never use, then just brace yourself for that. So without a tax ID, there are a lot of wholesalers, especially with wholesale apparel, without a tax ID that will not sell to you. So they see you as like an end consumer, and they want to ensure that they are only dealing with businesses, no government, no schools, right? So that's where like transferexpress.com comes in. You don't need a business license. You don't need a tax ID. You don't need an LLC. To create an account, you don't even need to put in a credit card, right? So you could get a variety of different t-shirts, hoodies, athletic wear, uniforms, shorts, even some like aprons and some promo materials. The fanny packs and stuff, right? So there's bags and accessories all there. No tax ID needed, no anything else, right? So just being able to just order straight up wholesale apparel, and after a certain threshold, I believe it's $200 or $300, you get it for free, right? So shipping is free. And I will say, being here in Ohio, every single time I order from Transfer Express, it usually arrives next day. And I'm usually ordering it in the morning. So it ships out same day. And I believe there's a warehouse close to that ships the apparel here. So if you do have a tax ID, business license, and all of that, you could go to Sanmar, Augusta, S&S Activewear, and of course, Alpha Broder as well. So there are a ton of different, those are like the four major main garment wholesalers, apparel here in the United States. So I love me some Sanmar and S&S, order from them all the time. And I'm sure they love my business too. There's a Sanmar warehouse very, very close. So it comes very, very quickly. And I love it. And I think I saw you guys in the chat mentioning a little bit earlier that it's very easy that some of you have them like in your own city where you could pick them up, which is awesome. I see that Karina asked, what's a good website to create a logo? I'm going to show you in just a minute here. And Dee said, check Google Fiverr. Don't do that. I'm going to show you how to do it for free and ensure it's print ready. Fiverr's cool, right? The gig economy is okay. But you get some mixed quality. And even when you're working with people to be like, I want an SVG or a PDF vector file, they don't actually provide it to you in that format. So then it's not print ready and you have to go back and forth. Sometimes it incurs different fees. It just becomes a headache when you're like, oh, it should have spent $5. I'll show you how to do it for free. If you're going to be ordering with heat transfers, even mockups, you don't need any programs whatsoever. It's browser based, and all it takes is a Transfer Express account. So if you haven't signed up for a Transfer Express account yet, you should probably do it. It's free. No obligation. We'll send you free samples just for signing up for an account, and you'll unlock the EasyView Online Designer, which I'll jump into here in just a minute. So, of course, with equipment choices, I always urge businesses just starting out, don't dig yourself in too big of a hole right away, but set yourself up for future success. There's a lot of people that are like, buy right and buy once, right? Buy wrong and you're going to keep buying it. And in most cases, that's what I've heard with, like, especially like as we look at heat presses and choosing a heat press, right? That like buying one from Amazon, even with mild use, is going to last you a little bit. But also, I caution, you pay for what you get, especially in this industry. The lowest cost equipment is not going to it's not going to give you the quality results that you want. Yes, $100 on Amazon for a heat press sounds really good, but we've cut those machines open and the heating element is a 1/4 inch thick compared to 1.5 inches, right? So it just doesn't retain heat. You're doing 200 shirts, and in between presses, you have to wait 2 minutes for the heating element to get back up to temperature. That's not efficient. Time is money, right? Or the handle just snaps straight off when you're in the middle of a run. But now your customer needs these tomorrow, and your heat press is not operable, right? So you need something reliable when you're going to be building your business on it. We usually typically advise, like, a heat press should not cost less than $400, but buy what your budget will allow. If you have $6,000 set aside, you could buy a really, really nice heat press for $6,000. I don't recommend you do that just starting out, but you could buy a $1,000 heat press that's going to grow with you. And then even as your business scales, it becomes an additional press in your shop to scale your capacity, right? Or scale your capabilities, whatever it may be. All of the Hotronix heat presses last for years. We have one over in our office that back before Hotronix was silver and blue, it was black. They were black machines. So it is very, very old, and it's still ticking, right? So Hotronix heat presses, I recommend as the best in the industry. They are made in the United States. I have seen where they're made in Carmichael, PA, and they are made from Pennsylvania steel. All of the technicians who work on it are available to help you out as well in case something does happen. There's a power surge and you need to replace a wire or something inside of it. I've had to service a Hotronix machine, and it is incredibly easy. The techs walk you through everything over the phone in a really simple, easy to understand way, and it's great, right? So the recipe for success with heat presses to get those consistent, repeatable results that you need to be successful are time, temperature, and pressure. So that is one thing to keep into consideration. I always say buying a heat press, get one with a pressure readout at the very, very minimum, right? Over the center pressure and a pressure readout that will tell you a numerical value of what pressure it's at. If it's just 1 through 9, that's fine. If it's showing you like 60 to 80 PSI or whatever it may be, that's even better because you could get dialed in much better on that. But if you do not have a pressure readout, you are shooting in the dark based on feel. And time, temperature, and pressure are a tripod. You take one of the legs away, it's going to fall over, right? That was an absolutely terrible illustration I did with my hand. But essentially, pressure is the hidden culprit that is not taken into consideration the majority of the time. And then it's like, man, these aren't lasting the wash durability. Okay, well, what pressure you're at? I don't know. I was guessing. It was kind of based on feel. Not the best recipe, right? When you're baking a cake and it says use 1.5 cups of flour or 2 eggs, and you're like, I'm just going to eyeball it, right? I don't know about you. I've baked a lot. I've cooked a lot. There's no way I could eyeball a cup. Now, I could eyeball a placement for a center chest. So I guess if there's any bakers out there, let me know if you can eyeball a cup of flour, right? But I know I can't. And so when I'm just tossing it in, that cake's not going to turn out as good as if I would have followed the recipe, right? So it's just another way of measurement to follow the recipe. Or it's like you're cooking chicken and it says cook it to 165 degrees, but you don't have a thermometer. You're just like, yeah, that looks like I touched it. Yeah, it feels like 165 degrees. That's exactly what you're doing with the pressure. So it's really important to have those tools built into your heat press. You can see all of the features here in choosing a heat press. Of course, threadability is a big thing when you're talking about efficiency. So being able to load onto the press instead of just laying over top. Isolating one layer of fabric makes it much quicker. Interchangeable platens allow you to either print the inside tag or print multiple locations or sleeves or hoodies where you're isolating it so you're not varying the pressure printing over, say, a hoodie pocket, right? So that I can isolate this seam so I'm only printing on one layer of fabric. Of course, all of the presets, like in a fusion machine like this, auto on, auto off, the dual timers. So if you're doing a pre-press, removing the moisture from a shirt for only 3 to 5 seconds, but your transfer applies for 15, you could have the press program to do that. So it makes it so much easier on you. Of course, they are just absolutely tanks of machines. I call them like the Cadillacs, but really they're more like the F-150s, right? Or the Chevys, if you're a Ford or Chevy guy, right? The Silverado, that they are dependable machines. Of course, the Cadillacs have all the bells and whistles, which these presses also do. But you just want to ensure that you have the tools to nail that recipe. So here's the transfer choices we were talking about, right? And here, actually, before I get started on this, I see in the chat that Wayne said, I set up an LLC by myself, but there are plenty of places online that'll help you. Your local government website could also help you out. And that is great. Yes. When I did mine, I went to the Ohio Secretary of State.com. They literally have a checklist and yep, boom, do this, boom, do this, boom, do this. Hey, you're done. And I think it's $99 in the state of Ohio. So you pay your $100 to the Secretary of State and they're going to send you a thing in the mail. Congratulations. You now have an LLC. Now, there are certain things that are new laws out where you have to report if you own an LLC separately. I think if you sign up for a new LLC here in 2024, it's kind of like, I think it is included in that. But if you have an existing LLC in some states in the United States, you do have to now say, I saw this thing on TikTok about it. And then I researched it, and it looks like you do have until the end of the year, essentially, to tell the government, I own this LLC. But yeah, that's getting in the weeds. Let's talk about different transfer types here. So this is going to get you in the right transfer type. Now, we talked about our screen printed transfers, right? The goof proof, plastisol, ink, screen printed transfers. We screen print them on a paper so you don't have to hassle all that mess. That is the orange here, right? So our big orange block. Ultracolor Max, those direct to film transfers that we were talking about, right, are also in here as the green. Mike will be able to link this thing in here. And this what to use one guide, so you could download it as a PDF. So you could see this, but broken down, apparel quantity on top. So that's 6 and below. So 6 and below and 48 and essentially up is just this chart extends out into infinity, right? So if you have one color on one side, on up and down on the side, is our number of colors in our art. So 1, 2, 3, or 4 plus. And then the apparel quantity, the total quantity needed, is at the top. Of course, you could go down to 1. in the 1-to-1 square. That's either going to be CAD cut or Ultra Color Max. Now we put CAD cut in there. That's just a heat transfer vinyl if you do have a vinyl cutter. It's great for personalization or the one-offs, or like, I need it today, right now. You could absolutely do that. And that's what's great about heat transfer vinyl. Also, specialty effects, finishes, very, very hard to decorate items. Maybe you want that silicone finish, or you want a kind of textured soft foam. There are heat transfer vinyls available for that. You're doing a lot of sports or cheer or dance spirit wear, of course. Glitters and those reflective foils and stuff are all available, and really great effects to use that aren't available in any other decoration method, right? You can't, of course, you could screen print a foil and then put a hot foil over top of it, but then you're doing it in 2 steps anyway with a whole bunch of equipment that costs way more than a heat press, right? So you could still do it with just a heat press. But you see that that's perfect for a lower quantity and a lower color count. Ultra Color Max is going to fill a lot of this chart just because of its versatility, unlimited colors, and pretty much unlimited quantity from 1 to 100,000, right? We have customers that are huge commercial decorators that are buying well over 6 figures of Ultra Color Max direct to film each year, right? And they see it as, I don't need to buy a printer, right? That's a huge investment into their business to outfit enough printers to make that capacity. They have to hire new people. They have to train them. They have to maintain those printers, that it's just easier, that they don't want to focus on printing. They want to focus on creating custom apparel, right? So, of course, it's simplifying their business model and making it much easier for them in the long run. So you see our screen printed transfer, of course, in the orange. That's that goof proof that we're talking about. I see that in the chat, we've mentioned hot split a few times, or even the Elastiprints for 100% polyester. You see that in that chart. So when you download that chart, the What to Use When guide, super handy guide to keep around and reference. These lines that are drawn are based mostly on price, okay? So say you have a customer who does need 12 quantity, and maybe has 2 colors in their artwork. If we trace that on the map here on the What to Use When guide, that's going to put us in Ultra Color Max. But your customer says, I want screen printing. I will pay for it. I don't care. I know it's a low quantity, but I will pay for screen printing. Then you could use the screen printed transfer. It's just going to be a little bit more expensive than the Ultra Color Max is going to be, but you could still use it for that. The minimum quantity for our screen printed transfers here at Transfer Express are 6. Coming from the screen printing background, I don't know how we do it. I honestly don't. I don't know how we do it. That 6 quantity for screen printing is incredibly low. The other shops that I've worked at in the past are 48 and 24. So 6 is like, I don't know how we do it, but we do it to help you out. We know that not all the orders are going to be huge quantity orders, and that customers do want that screen printed quality, and you could produce it with a heat press from a closet or a basement or your garage. Or I was talking to Justin Leader, JC Pro Design, now owns 2 facilities. They just acquired a promotional products company in Salt Lake City as well. He started in a corner of his living room, right, with a Cricut and a heat press. And hearing his story is absolutely incredible. Head over to the Stalls YouTube page. Maybe Mike could link the shop visit that we did with Justin, where we do kind of show like where he started, but really dive into what his shop is now. And of course, now he has automatic screen printing presses and direct to garment, and he's doing tons of direct to film, and he's producing on demand with his heat printing department, and has embroidery and does like UV printing as well. He does all this stuff, but it all started with a heat press in his living room and just on a desk in his living room. And it's an incredible story that we hear time and time again. So this What to Use When guide, super helpful in deciding what transfer type to use. Now, of course, now we're here with creating artwork. I heard that there's Michael has an old black Hottronics. That thing's probably still kicking too. I saw some talks about Kittl or Canva or Fiverr. Now, to get like print ready files, we're talking like PDFs, not low resolution JPEGs. Those services do have subscriptions to them, right? If you're ordering transfers and you want to be able to easily mock up and create designs and not have to learn a program, EasyView Online Designer is going to be the program for you. With over 7,000 professional t-shirt layouts that are pre-designed and customizable for you, it makes it easier than ever. And I will say, having went to school for graphic design, having being an expert in Illustrator and Photoshop, right? I'm not a master. I'll say I'm an expert, right? If most of the requests I get are like, I just want some curved text, a palm tree, or whatever it might be, right? Well, I'm going to have to go find the text type on a path tool in Illustrator. Maybe they want an outline on it. I have to expand or set a an offset path. I have to do all these commands. It's probably going to take me, being quick, maybe 20, 25 minutes to put it together. I could do it in minutes in the EasyView Online Designer, and time is money, right? So I find myself more often than not, I'm going to be ordering transfers to print these shirts anyway. I will design them in EasyView Online Designer. If I design anything in Illustrator, or maybe I'm using some like stuff from AI. AI is really cool these days. We have a video on how to make a t-shirt with AI artwork. But essentially using this design tool to help your business. It's great because you could use an idea book to essentially browse with your customers. Because I always use this analogy, and somebody else said it, and I hate that I can't credit them with it. But in my career, right, a lot of people are like, well, we need some t-shirts. Okay, well, what do you want on it? Well, we really don't know, but we'll know it when we see it. That's not the way that graphic design works, because I'm going to put 2 or 3 hours into putting stuff together for you, and I'm going to email you, and you're going to go, oh, yeah, well, we were really actually thinking something more like this. And then they send you something from Pinterest or just a screenshot from Google. And it's like, why didn't you send that to me in the first place before I spent 3 hours going in a different direction? Because from the way you were communicating, it made it sound like, this is what you wanted. Or you said, I trust you, you're a pro. But then you had an idea that you didn't communicate that I didn't do. It's frustrating for me, frustrating for the customer, a bad experience all around, right? And it cost me money. Especially if I did it for free, it costs me time. If I charge my customer, they're frustrated now. Like, what do you mean? I know the going rate, the flat rate for graphic design almost my entire career was $50 an hour with a minimum of 1 hour, right? So when you're talking to a customer who's like, well, we need 12 shirts for the diner, and you go, okay, well, it's going to be 3 hours of design work. It's $150. They're like, that's our budget for the shirts. Like, we can't double it just because we don't have a design. And that's where this designer truly comes in, right? So 7,000 layouts, there's 10,000 pieces of customizable clip art, and those catalogs grow every single week. There's at least 3 new layouts and 3 new pieces of clip art added every single week. We have an entire team of designers that are scouring Etsy and all of these retail stores to see what's trending and what's coming up so that we could keep you ahead of the game with the similar aesthetics that you're going to see out there in the wild. So it's really great to be able to have that all specifically designed for t-shirts. Of course, there's a built-in mockup tool in there as well, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. And then even you could go in and remove background images or backgrounds on raster artwork, or even vectorize them to take an otherwise unprintable file, because I'm sure you've heard of people, or I've heard of people, and I've worked with customers who are like, oh yeah, my buddy Jeremy is a pro in Photoshop. He'll send you a file. Spoiler alert, Jeremy is not a pro in Photoshop, and that image is not the resolution I need for printing, right? So you can take that low resolution image and still make it work. And I'll show you here. And so let me just check. Let me check. The name of the designer is the EasyView Online Designer at TransferExpress.com. It's free. There's no subscription. You just need to create a Transfer Express account, and it unlocks the software immediately. I'm going to share my screen and jump into EasyView and just show you real quick what the program looks like. And I'm just going to go over here to this full screen. So full screen right here, EasyView Online Designer. You could get to it by going to TransferExpress.com and clicking Order Transfers, all right here, right? And so Heather asked, can the transfer be used on mugs as well? We do have decals that you could order in the designer. So you could just click Order Transfers, click Online Designer, or drop here to the Online Designer from TransferExpress.com, and it's going to take you right into the designer. Our transfers can't be used on mugs, but if you go down here to the bottom left, you could click on Print Method. And so if you go full color, you could actually get these all-purpose stickers. And I have one that's been through the dishwasher probably at least once or twice a week for 2 years, and it looks like the day I put it on. So they are quite possibly the best stickers that I have ever purchased and used, especially when it accounts to the price, right? And you could use all of this artwork design in here. You could see all of these brand new layouts like this one. I'm in my Taylor Swift era, right? That's okay. I love me some Tay-Tay, but this is like what you see everywhere on Etsy, and you see so many brands latching onto it too, right? The repeating text, St. Patrick's Day, you see all of these new layouts that have just been added. Mardi Gras coming up, right? Valentine's Day, all this stuff coming up soon is all here in here. Now, of course, if you're doing schools or sports, here's a whole bunch of school stuff. Even these champions, the roster lists, everything like this, new for 2024. So this is all the new stuff. Hey, Barbiecore is still popular, right? So all of these layouts are in here, and I'll show you just how easily editable they are. So like here, we could go from, if we're decorating for bands, or here's some preschool ones. So like some cute little ones for the little ones. I have a she's in kindergarten now, but not necessarily a preschooler, but like general school, just some easy stuff. Oh, a nice Saved by the Bell design, right? Some retro throwbacks. We see that being incredibly popular right now, all in here. So like all of this in here, super, super easy to be able to use. Let's just click this one right here. We could even browse more. There's ton in here, right? So we're just going to click on this one, MAS201. It's going to import into our artboard. We could resize this. Say we're printing for those kid shirts. I'm just going to go 9 inches. Now this is set to 9 inches. If I go over here to my transfer type, let's just say screen print, goof proof, I see what my sheet size is. So I know that I could fit multiple of these up on one sheet. So now if I could fit 2 up on one sheet, I'm reducing the quantity that I need by half. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to keep us here all day. And I do just want to get through the rest of our presentation in a reasonable time. But I appreciate you guys hanging out because lots of good knowledge here. You guys have had fantastic questions. And it's great. So here, but this one, so it imports as Wildcats. They're not the Wildcats. They're the Panthers, right? So I could click on it, go up here into the edit menu, type Panthers. Cool. That's done. They're not in Compton. Let's just say they're here in Menor, Ohio. I'm just typing it in. I don't like this font, or it doesn't look bold enough. Let's go in here and grab another one. Look, Aardvark's nice and thick. Perfect. How easy is that to change the font, right? This isn't a Panther, but I could click replace clip art. I'm going to replace it with clip art. And let's just search Panther. And look at this guy right here. Drops it right in. So in just 2 seconds, we just created custom artwork from an artwork catalog, right? We do have a book that you could have customized to your business. That is our idea book that has the most popular. It's not all of it because it would be 6 miles high if it was all of the artwork in the book. But essentially, it's just pages that you could browse with your customers, have them select one. You see that they all have these codes on them. So this one that we're using, where did it go? MAS201, right? So in the book, it corresponds to those codes so that you're able to pull this artwork up and easily customize it for your customers. So here, say they want this on a red shirt and the school colors are yellow. I don't know how crazy this is going to look. Let's just pick maize. Boom. And now we can select this. Let's make this like a burgundy or a maroon or something. Oh, yeah. There we go. Now it's looking. This is what we did, right? All set, ready to go. I am going to hide my little face here. So I'm going to turn my video off just so you can see on the bottom in our configurator. We have screen print, our goof proof transfer selected. We have a standard size sheet, and we are under 6, our minimum quantity, right? It tells us right here, set minimum quantity. But let's just say I need 46 of these. And maybe we'll make some for youth. We'll do 46 youth, and we'll do 46 adults. So let's just say we have this one. I'm going to set to 11 inches. So you see it scales appropriately, and we can fit it on our sheet right here. We'll grab this one. I just copied and pasted this, or you could just go up to Object Duplicate, and it's going to make 2 of them. I'm just going to click delete, or you could click the trash can or undo, and it would do the same thing. Here, let's grab this one, and I'm going to size this down to, 9 inches? Whoop. We're going to size it down to 9 inches, we said, for our youth garment. And then because we're going to do some coach gear, let's just size this down to, I don't know, maybe like 3 inches, and we could tuck it in here. So now we have youth, adult, and another one right here. So on the bottom of our screen, you'll see $2.95 per image. So that is $2.95. So when we talk about accurately costing, right, this is free, and it's going to show us right here. We get an accurate quote. We also get an accurate turn time. So this transfer is going to ship on 2/12. It's 2/8. We missed production cutoff today, so it's shipping out on Monday, right? Because tomorrow's Friday, so the weekend doesn't count. It'll look like it's placed tomorrow, and it ships out on Monday. So it's going to tell us exactly when our transfers are going to leave the building and be on the way to us, as well as how much this is going to cost. $2.95. Now, one thing that Fiverr and Kittle and all of these other programs, Canva, they're not going to save you money. Here in the bottom of the designer, you can see that I have 46 quantity set. Hey, save $20 by increasing your order quantity to at least 48. So keep your eye on that 135, and I'm just going to click Save Me Money. That 135 is going to go down to 114. Whoa, it really did save me $20. And over here, my quantity is at 48. So I bought extra to save me money. No other print shop, no other transfer supplier, no other designer is actively looking to save you money. Like that doesn't happen, right? So yes, Shirley says Cricut Workspace has the same thing. They sure do. You have to pay for it. It's $9 a month, right? You have to pay a subscription. And then if you want more fonts or you want to import SVGs into it, you have to pay for it. You can import anything into here, right? So upload your own files, JPEGs, PNGs, whatever it may be. We could grab this Panther logo, right? This is a vector Panther logo. Say the school says, we want our Panther. You could import their Panther into here. You could even change the colors if it's a vector file, right? So we could say like, no, we want it to be yellow. We could select these in here. This black, let's just knock out to no ink. So it's, like you could go in here and edit all of these files as they come in, right? So this is all browser based too. So you don't need a MacBook. You don't need to, okay, that got crazy. Maybe I'll just hit undo. Okay. So it still looks good. Let's grab that black. We could say no ink on that. So now I just am reducing this down to essentially, look at that. Now we have their Panther in one color, right? Really cool. Really easy. All ready to go. Say we just want to grab that. Let's just say, get out of here. I'm going to grab this. We'll grab our artwork and I could just rotate this and slide them right on in, right? As we go. Whatever we want to do, have them overlap a little bit. Look at that. Perfect. Hey, he's cutting into that. That's cool. I'm going to click outline, add an outline, and set this to no ink. And you can see, let me just zoom in here. Now there's a little outline around this guy. Let me select him again and make the outline thicker. And you can see it gets thicker in real time, right? So that's great. Super powerful and free, right? So also one thing that Cricut Design Space doesn't do is you can't mock up. Let's go in here. And what did I say? Next Level 3600, right, is my favorite t-shirt. Next Level 3600. I could pull a real image of a Next Level 3600. Oh, this is taking minutes. I don't have to go find this on the internet. It's all right here. I could put a watermark on this. Yep, sure. Or I could turn it off. I could change the watermark to be Dave Tees, right? If I'm worried about somebody stealing it, nope. And it's my whole gang sheet that I built, but let me just grab one selection here and just click selection only. I'll rotate this one around. Boom. I have this mocked up. I could download this to my computer right now. That's all for free. So I could prove this with my customer before spending a dime. No subscriptions, no nothing. And that's extra profit in your pocket, right? Even if I don't want the model, right? I could just do a flat front view. Grab the flat front view and download this one all the same. Of course, because that guy was just kind of tilted sideways a little bit and this one loaded in a little bit larger. Now I resize it just to make it look like it's going to be 11 inches on an adult shirt. I want that youth style. I could download the youth style. There's stock ones in here. Say I want something really customized. Now you can even upload your own mockups, right? So let's see if this one will load in. I will say that this is a browser-based program. There are no apps to install. All you need to do is log into your account on any device. iPads, tablets, phones will even work for this. Your computer, a Chromebook. So that software that you can't use. But the only thing is that it does require an internet connection. As I'm streaming to you, of course, the internet connection is probably not working all the best. But here, those mockups you could download from Etsy or any other sites. Boom. I have it set right now. And now I'm mocking this up to make it look great for a social media post. Hey, who wants to buy some new Men Are Panthers merch, right? I could post this on social media and start getting sales right now. Super simple, no subscription. This is the kind of stuff that like really helps your business get off the ground and get those services out there because those other print shops aren't doing the same thing. Like I mentioned, you could do the same thing where you go to full color and say, I want to order just stickers of that. I can. I could order window decals of it. I could order our Ultra Color Max, just those DTF transfers, right? So let's go back to our edit menu. I'm just going to say, let's just say we need to order one. I'm just going to hit shift and deselect that. I'll delete everything else out. We need to just order one of these, right? One coach just joined the team, didn't get on the apparel order, and they're like, we just need one polo for this guy. I'll click full color, Ultra Color Max. I need one of these, just one. It's 48 cents print cost. And I could check out with this right now, right? Now, granted, you do have to pay shipping for it, so just keep that in consideration. But say you had another order going in for gang sheets, this all lumps together on the same shipping. And or if your customer says, I just need one of them, then you charge them that cost of the shipping in the cost of the order, right? So it's easy to factor in those costs and have everything rolling just as you move forward through the process. Before I jump out of this, I do just want to show you one more thing here, and that's like that artwork, right? Upload my own art. We'll go in here. We could grab like a pizza logo that this one's like really super low res. Let's just say keep original, bring it into our art space. And the system's going to warn us and say, hey, your artwork's low res. import full color, right? So this one here says resolution too low, 95 DPI. Whoa, that sucks, right? Can't print that. But what I can do is launch the image editor right here. I could remove white or a background. There's no white background, but you can see the remove white knocks that out. I'll just say keep original. But in this second step, let me just click on over here and go spot color, and boom. Now I could pull this in as a spot color. Whoop, did I pull it in as a spot? I did not pull it in as a spot color image. Let me go here. Now it's going through the spot color. It's loading in, and this takes a lot quicker when you're not live streaming to a webinar too. So that's one thing to take into consideration. I'll do 3 colors, and I'll just click reprocess here so that I know I have this black, the yellow, and that. I'll just click that to remove it, add to spot color version. All of this other stuff, I could just say no ink, so I don't have to click on it, right? And now there's no warning. This is a file that I can even go in here and ungroup and say I just want to grab this text. Boom. Now I'm moving the text, right? This was an unprintable file that I just made easily editable, all in a free program, right? How cool is that? And now I can even mock this up on a t-shirt, right? Right there. Maybe browse stock. Let's go to just a regular black t-shirt. Bam. I want to change the colors of this file. No problem. I'll grab any of these colors. Let's just say we want to change this to like a gold. Everything changes. We want to change it to orange. Otherwise uneditable file. And I don't have Photoshop, right? I do have Illustrator. You can see on my toolbar right here, and that my Teams is blown up as well. But we're going to get back to the slideshow here just to try to wrap this thing up and get through it. So yeah, that is absolutely free. You just have to start a new account at Transfer Express to get access to that. We are running real tight on time here. So yeah, using the designer going forward, play with it. Yeah, Kate said, I played around with it some, but man, I had no idea it could do all this. It's amazing. Yes, we have tons of videos and all these features, right? That are all available on our YouTube page. So even like ungrouping artwork or adding effects, you could add distressing, all of this stuff in there. We have little bite-sized videos or huge webinars solely dedicated to using EasyView, which keep an eye out because we do have one coming up next month that is going to be pretty much a 2-hour masterclass going through EasyView and how it can help your business. So with pricing, Josh Ellsworth and Zach Ellsworth put together this great book about pricing with a heat press. And so the lean logo formula, I'll see if Mike could throw that one into the chat here. But essentially, if you just go to ebooks on transferexpress.com, the lean logo formula is a free downloadable book, really well written, and has some great perspectives from a long time in the printing industry. Along with pricing, the simplified formula, like I mentioned earlier, is just taking your cost, your set cost, shirt cost, and print cost, and then multiplying it times 2. So essentially, that's going to cover your overhead and your labor, right? All of your utility bills, if you want to factor it into it too. Any of those cost of subscriptions, if you're paying for Fiverr or Kittle or Canva or whatever it may be, you're rolling those into it too. But it's real simplified to just do a cost times 2. And in most cases, the cost times 2 selling model is going to ensure that you're making profit. So like I mentioned, for my own brand, right? Setting the price, I know that my cost is fixed. The transfer cost for each is not variable. It is fixed, and it costs me $8 for the front and the back in transfer cost, right? The blank itself is $4. I could charge $10, and then I'm at what? 8 plus 4, that's 12. That's $22. But I'm charging more because I want to make more than cost times 2. It's going to fit the market. But I can mark them down and still make my cost times 2 profit margin by selling them for $22 if I wanted to really move them, right? But at cost times 2, it costs $12 to make it. I'm going 24, right? So yeah. I'm just checking the chat here. I could turn my little camera back on now that I'm not hiding up the pricing in the corner. The stickers are made of vinyl, so they are printed on it. Or it might be polypropylene. It's a vinyl or polypropylene. It is very, very durable. The adhesive on them too is, I caution you, if you put it on a bumper sticker, or you make bumper stickers and put it on a bumper of a car, it's staying on the bumper of that car. Cindy asks, will the Transfer Express Designs installs EasyView LTE ever be connected? We are really working on a way to make them talk to each other. They're just like the back ends are a little different, but I am positive, I'm very confident in our team that they're going to be able to make that happen. So as we go through here too, like I mentioned earlier, compare with custom ink. So like for that same that same kind of scenario, one print area, 12 items, one color front, custom ink's going to charge your customers $16 each for it, right? But for a one print on the front, we saw how much did that left chest or something cost, right? 48 cents plus a $4 blank t-shirt. That's $6. We could cost times 2, make our profit margin, sell them for $12 at 12 pieces. And we're undercutting the national competitor, which by a lot of print shops say like, there's no way to compete with them. They're just way too low on price. It's pretty easy to compete with them, right? When you don't have to deal with the overhead of screens and inks and emulsions and paying an entire staff and buying an entire warehouse, you could be a powerful decorator from just your home, right? So go on to Custom Ink. They have a great quoting tool that you could use as your friend to ensure that you are set up. So your workspace, we already kind of covered this. You really just need a heat press. There's a shelf there that stores some t-shirts all folded up. That's kind of exactly what my home office looks like, running my brand, except I don't have that many t-shirts sitting around anymore. I kind of just order them in when they come. And then, of course, for stacking them up and consolidating that shipping cost. Yes. I will say I've been completely neglecting my online store lately, but it's been busy. The holidays came up and then we're running into 2024. We're putting all this stuff together to help you guys out. And I feel, I mean, it's great to sell t-shirts online, but I feel so much better helping you guys out, leveraging my experience to lift everybody else up. There's no gatekeeping here at all. So really you just need a table and a heat press to get started. The apparel comes in and out. So like if you have huge orders, yes, you have to find a spot to put them. But the quicker you could get them in and out of your shop, the better. And by your shop, I mean your basement or your garage or whatever it looks like for you. Let's see. Just want to check I'm checking the chat just one more time. A link a few slides back on the pricing is the lean logo guide. Mike could throw the lean logo guide in there. And yes, we pretty much were just looking at the simplified costing was taking the cost of the garment, the cost of the transfer, putting them together. So if your garment costs $5, your transfer costs $2, that's $6. You're not selling that shirt for less than $12. That's just a super, super simplified. So with fulfillment, when I was talking about fulfillment in a little bit, this is what kind of it looks like when you're heat printing on demand, essentially when orders come in. You check in the system to make sure everything's good. You make sure that you could collect your payments. If you're doing anything online, that's going to be handled for you through Stripe or Squarespace. I used PayPal at first. PayPal it used to be much more robust of like an invoicing system, so that you could create custom invoices. It logs it all for you so that you could go back and see who's paid and unpaid and just like a one-click resend. So there's a lot of software out there for it. And if you're using an online platform or something like Fulfill Engine, it is handling all of that payment processing for you. And then staging. So this is a photo of orders staged with transfers on top, ready to be pressed. And as soon as they're pressed, they're boxed up and shipped right back out. So it's the time to start, right? There's no better time than now. And I like this Mark Twain quote, so we put it in here. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. There's a Pete the Cat book. If you have little ones at home and you're reading children's books, I think the one opens with like, to begin, just begin, right? You got to take that step and get started. We are here to help. I am 100% in your corner, 100% of the time. I answer all of our YouTube channel comments. I do these webinars bi-weekly, essentially, to be able to be here to be a resource for your business. So if you have any questions, all of those comments on the Transfer Express YouTube page, I answer personally. Reach out there to any video. You can also catch us here on the webinars all the time, but just get started. We're here behind you. No matter how small that first step is, just getting started, get the ball rolling, right? And you'll get ready to go. And so just for those of you who hung out with us all the way here to the end, the marketing kit is our essentially t-shirt business in a box. Not only do you get that catalog, I think I have one here. I'm hoping it's not just a cover. Oh, it is not just a cover. Cool. So it is our idea book, right? So this book essentially is that catalog of artwork. You get this one for your business. And that's all of these layouts that we saw on the EasyView Online Designer, little photos of them. You also get a digital kit. So it comes with mockups and flyers that you could use for social media. It comes with even like TikTok reels, Instagram reels, like videos of the shirts featured in this guide that you also get full-size transfers of as well, right? a color selector swatch book. This is normally a $55 kit. For the webinar special, we are taking $15 off, and then there's a $15 coupon on your next order. So that's a shirt. That's taking off money on shirts. There's a color selector swatch book, which I have an old one right here. But essentially, because colors on screen differ from colors in real life, these are the real plastisol ink colors. This is $20 all on its own, right? So that's half the price of the kit. You get the idea book that's customized to your business. So when you're doing word of mouth or you're going and pitching businesses, instead of saying your business name here, this is customized to you. This doesn't say Transfer Express at all. So it looks like it's your own artwork catalog. Really, really important. And then we give you the transfers, the full-size gang sheets, so that you could recreate this exact shirt if you want. We'll give you a black shirt in there and a tote bag to get started right away. Yeah, you just see my ring light there. But here you could see this graphic is actually included in the kit as a goof-proof screen printed transfer. So you could show them this shirt. So we did all of the marketing for you to get you really started off on the right foot. Mike will put a link to that special, and that is only available to those who are live here with us. If you registered, it may get emailed out to you and like when the replay is ready. But anybody who just found this on YouTube, I apologize that this special is only for those joining us here live today. And so try to catch us on another webinar coming up. This is not something we usually put on sale. This is what like our trade show special. So like what we offer to our folks who come to the trade shows to see us. But yeah, we have, it's a absolutely awesome traveling showroom. Gets you set up with 18 to 20 examples of apparel that you could print on. Comes with a t-shirt, the tote bag, and some posters that give you the visibility if you want to be able to show off your what you're capable of. A pricing guide, a printout of that what to use when guide, and that digital asset kit that I was talking about as well. That does get you started off with digital marketing on social media, showing that you do custom apparel. Even if you're a brand and just getting started with a heat press, this is a great kit to have. Number one, to browse some design ideas for yourself, but then also looking at the capabilities of the effects and everything, the quality that you could get with a heat press. So I'll leave this up just as we go here. Yeah. And Kathy, thank you too. I got really near the end here. I wanted to wrap us up before 4 o'clock and we're past 4 o'clock now. Harrington, the book is available in this kit. So you see that in the box there in that photo, we have this one right here. This is the book. This is the book you get. It is in a binder too, which I really like. So say, and it's all like sections. So like here, it's like school, right? So school, all of these sections are color coded, whether it's clip art or work or occasions or sports. You're going to pitch a school. You could take everything else out in the back. So it's just the school section and maybe the sports section. So it's not like, analysis paralysis. It's not so much that it's overwhelming. You get them with the stuff that's relevant for them. You find that layout like I used earlier, be able to swap their mascot in there essentially before their eyes. And you could offer that for free because it takes so quick. That's your differentiator to get ahead in the market. And we're here to support you. So I see Mike put that link in there. And I thank you, Mike, for keeping up with as much as you can in the chat. I apologize that I wasn't able to get to it. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out so much here with us today. You could email us anytime at info@transferexpress.com or call 1-800-622-2280. That's weekdays Eastern time, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Of course, online anytime. Of course, you could direct message us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or comment on any of those YouTube videos. And that's your easiest, quickest direct line to me. I dedicate time every single day to go in there and answer questions. Usually it's in the morning. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night when you can't sleep and I'm just scrolling there in bed. You'll get a response from me about apparel decorating. If that tells you how big of a nerd about printing I am. Eat, sleep, breathe, plastisol ink and t-shirts. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining us here today. If we were unable to get to your question today, we go back through the chat and go through the entire chat log. We'll reach out via email, the email that you signed up with, and answer your question if we weren't able to get to it. So I want to thank you so much for joining us here today. I appreciate you taking the step in the right direction to be better and finally start that business that I know you've been thinking about for a little while, or maybe take your business to the next level, right? Where you've been maybe doing that side hustle, the home business thing. And you're like, you know what? 2024 is the year I'm going to quit my full-time job because apparel decorating is going to take off for me. I want to celebrate that victory with you next year at the same time. So let's put the work in now. We're going to make it happen, okay? I am in your corner. We're going to start. We're going to crush it. 2024 is the year to do it, right? Right? Right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I had a blast today. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll still try to answer them here as we hang out. But yes, if we missed them, we'll go back through the entire chat log either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, and we'll be able to respond to you and make sure the questions are answered. Or if you have any questions that pop up, feel free to let us know. But I appreciate you guys. Let's go out there and get it, okay? 2024. Let's make it happen. Happy pressing.